Ahsoka gave me hope for Star Wars, but not in the way you think. Star Wars has been the most inspirational and impactful story for nearly my entire life. I was first introduced into the franchise at just 3 years old watching The Phantom Menace. When I was 5, I saw my first movie ever in the theaters, this being my favorite film of all time, Revenge of the Sith. Star Wars has motivated me, given me hope, and been an outlet for escape for as long as I can remember. It's funny being 23 years old now, and it's just as impactful. But for a while, under Disney, so many of the products have just left me feeling numb. Like, whatever spark that once existed for the speciality of Star Wars was gone. From me trying hard to like Obi-Wan Kenobi, but ultimately was left disappointed, to getting frustrated at the story decisions for the Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian Season 3. I mean, I could go on. After these were released, I just stopped feeling that spark of inspiration and excitement that Star Wars once gave me, and believed that I may never get that back again. But I was wrong, because Ahsoka changed this. Now I just want to clarify. Ahsoka is a far from perfect show. There are definite writing flaws in it, and if you dislike the show, there is nothing wrong with that at all. I am only speaking from my own personal subjective point of view and why I loved the show. Ahsoka encapsulates everything that, to me, makes Star Wars, Star Wars. From mysticality, adventure, family, the light side and the dark side, political drama, and then of course weird things like space whales taking our heroes through hyperspace to a new galaxy. This show has it all. Does it execute it perfectly? No, and I'm not trying to act like it does. But the story is captivating, the villains are intriguing, you feel the weight of Thrawn's potential return, you care about this family of rebellious characters, and you become invested in the growth of them. Times are tough for, I'm sure, most of us here in the real world. From inflation, a crashing economy, war, and my rent and grocery bill seemingly going up more and more every month. So I gotta say, it was nice to be able to look forward to Tuesday evening and wind down and escape into this universe that has changed so many lives. And Ahsoka did that for me. We first start with these two rogue dark Jedi invading a New Republic ship, wielding orange lightsabers and freeing a witch who was on a journey to get to another galaxy so they can set free one of the most profound admirals in history and start the Empire again. The foundation of this story had me hooked, instantly from the beginning. Then, we go to the grounded and charismatic Rebels family that have to learn to unite amongst each other despite these difficult times, and to stop these dark Jedi from successfully reaching an unknown grand power that has the potential to destroy all balance in the Force. Now, I do wish Timothy Zahn had some input on the writing for Thrawn, and I do wish we got some answers regarding Balin's quest, but for that in particular, it's clear that this show was not written as a one-season series. Dave Filoni does like to stretch his stories out, and, whether you like his way of storytelling or not, I am okay with the Balin cliffhanger. No doubt in my mind there will be a season 2. But it is such a shame of the passing of Ray Stevenson, who did an absolute tremendous job playing the character of Balin Skull. His introduction on the New Republic hangar, which does mirror the Phantom Menace's opening, it immediately grasped my interest, and this interest did not fade at all through the season. And his apprentice, Shin Hati, is also good for the purpose of her character. She's basically a dog on a leash. That's pretty much the best way I can put it. I think my favorite scene with her is in episode 4 when she sees a helpless Sabine lying on the ground, and her immediate reaction is to force choke her in what I'm assuming her goal was to kill her. Balin immediately puts a stop to this as he gave Sabine his word to bring her to Ezra, and this dynamic between these two villains makes for a great contrast. They aren't Sith, and they aren't Jedi, and in fact, Balin still cares about the Jedi, and like he said, he misses the idea of it. There are so many theories that have come up with what he is searching for, and theorizing has been such an important factor when it comes to being a Star Wars fan. It reminded me of back in 2015 when The Force Awakens came out, when the fan base was still relatively intact. Who is Snoke? Who are Rey's parents? Will Finn be a Jedi? All sorts of questions and curiosity sparked from that film, and it made for a lot of great conversation that, for the longest time now, has sort of faded away up until Ahsoka. I was also invested in the relationship between Ahsoka and Sabine. I saw a lot of people complaining on how annoying Sabine is, but come on guys, that's the entire point, and she does grow from it. I think her going from barely being able to use the Force to pull a lightsaber to immediately having the capability to push Ezra to the bridge. I felt like it was a bit rushed, but it's not that big of a deal. I thoroughly enjoyed the arc Sabine went through, and I like that Ahsoka is the guide for this arc, while Ezra is the resolution and end result of it. And Ahsoka herself also went on a bit of a character arc too. I know you guys are going to immediately think that I only love this arc because of Anakin. And listen, yes, Anakin may be my favorite character in Star Wars and probably one of my favorite characters in any story ever. And yes, I may own a one-to-one replica of his lightsaber. And yes, I had the biggest smile on my face when he showed up at the end. But okay, that's beside the point. Ahsoka starts out very stern. Is that the right word for it? She doesn't have a whole lot of emotion, but to me, this all made complete sense. She has the weight of the galaxy on her shoulders, literally. She's been through war her entire life and has lost almost everyone close to her. And now there's the threat of Thrawn's return, bringing war to the galaxy once again. Of course she's going to be stern in this way, but she does grow from it. Episode 5 of Ahsoka was certainly something for us prequel fans. Something I like about the quote-unquote fan service in this show is it always serves the story in a meaningful and impactful way and moves the story and our characters forward. And this show uses Anakin for this. Hayden Christensen is perfect as Anakin Skywalker. I've always been saying this. What more can I say? He transitions from the current state Anakin in The World Between Worlds to a younger and more charismatic version during the Clone Wars to an evil Darth Vader. But more importantly, he's teaching Ahsoka a lesson to fight. Live or die. Ahsoka's growth led her to becoming an uplifting and ambitious character whose faith lies solely in the Force. This translates into her relationship with Sabine, which was once a brittle and difficult one, but is now one of hope and trust. I found the characters of Ahsoka intriguing, and the writing made me care for them a lot, and I cannot wait to see where they go in future stories. So let's talk about that real quick. Where does this grand story go? We have a lot of routes it can take. The main one being Grand Admiral Thrawn and his return. So Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie is somewhat on the horizon, and considering it takes place after Return of the Jedi and before The Force Awakens, it's clear that this is going to be his adaptation of Heir to the Empire. So with this, Lucasfilm loves using scrapped scripts and concepts and bringing them into new projects. Remember Duel of the Fates? Yeah, Colin Trevorrow's episode 9 that got completely leaked, including his first script draft and loads of concept art. Well, the final battle in this movie was set to be on Coruscant. I think it's very possible that Dave's Heir to the Empire could have the final conflict take place on Coruscant. We know the New Republic reigned on this planet at the time of Ahsoka, but at some point a transition was made to the planet of Hosnian Prime, which, yes, is a blatant copy of Coruscant, but whatever, that's the canon, we do have to go with it. Thrawn could break Coruscant without completely destroying it, which would explain its complete lack of presence in the sequel trilogy and why the New Republic were forced to move planets. As for Ahsoka and Sabine, well, I assume they're going to get out at one point or another from Peridea. The big question is how. I strongly believe the upcoming Star Wars show Skeleton Crew is going to take place in a different galaxy. There's a lot of new news that I am planning on covering in a future video, so be sure and subscribe for that. It kind of gives reason for my theory on this. Now, will it be good to have a major plot point advance in a different show once again? No, I don't agree with that, but we have seen this before. And the most interesting future for me lies with Baylan and even Shin. We still have yet to learn what this power he is searching for is, but we did get some clues with the Mortis God statues. It's so unfortunate Rey has passed away, and I wish he was here with us to see the prize he is getting for his interpretation of the character of Baylan. I do hope this story is not taken away and put into a book. I mean, guys, don't get me wrong. I love Star Wars books, but I do think Baylan can and should be recast. It's possible whatever idea Dave Filoni's crazy mind is cooking up could change the future of Star Wars as we know it, and so I really do believe this should be continued on screen. I mean, it is also possible that Dave Filoni's idea for this character will take place somewhere in his movie. But one of my biggest issues with this whole storyline is Baylan's refusal to explain to Shin what this power is. So personally, what I would have done if that needed to be done that way is the reason he refused to talk to his apprentice about what it is because Baylan himself knew it was going to take a sacrifice from himself for this power to be released or revealed or whatever. And so he just didn't want that lingering over Shin, so he sent her away. I think that would have made a lot of sense and added more explanation to this, but it still could happen that way if or when we finally learn what this power is. Now, as for Shin, a lot of people are assuming that she was gathering up the Marauders to attack Ahsoka and Sabine, but personally, I don't think she is. I don't think she cares about them anymore. She could have easily gone over to Thrawn's ship, yet she stayed willingly on this planet. I think it's possible she is going to attempt to follow Balin. Perhaps she is now against him because of what he did and wants to find this power on her own and selfishly obtain it. It's also possible she gets her ass kicked by Ahsoka and Sabine and is left with no choice but to surrender and eventually become redeemed. So with all this, the question is asked, is Ahsoka a good show? Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it. For me, yes, it absolutely is. I love the story and have very little issues with it. I found the characters intriguing, and most importantly, this felt like it had what makes Star Wars so special. And after a lot of letdowns in the franchise, I won't lie, I had very little hopes and expectations for this show going into it, but I was pleasantly surprised, so I don't think there was any bias when it comes to my reaction for the show. Now, maybe when it comes to the scenes around Anakin, I'll admit the fanboy in me was jumping around with excitement, but even then, it's written to move the story and her characters forward, and I cannot wait to see the next season and just to see where the story is going to go. No, the show is not perfect. There are objective writing flaws in it. But does that make something a quote-unquote bad show? I think when you look at the subjectiveness to it, I mean, that plays a more important role. As an avid prequel fan ever since I was a young kid, I've always defended the prequels, even over-defended them on obvious flaws in the films, and I fully admit that. So things can have objective flaws in it, and it's okay to admit that those flaws are there, but that doesn't mean that from the point of view from you being a Star Wars fan means you should dislike the show. And equally on the other side, I'm also not saying that just because a project has the mysticality and feel of Star Wars, that doesn't mean you yourself need to like it. I know plenty of people who dislike the show, and I've had great conversations with them, and so I totally see the other side to it. So yes, Ahsoka did give me hope for Star Wars, but no, not in the hope of the sense I believe this franchise is saved and the future is as bright as ever, but hope in the fact that a new Star Wars product can bring me back to my childhood again, keeping me invested and inspired by the story that's being told. It is possible for Star Wars to return to its great highs that it has been at long ago. It's not going to be easy by any means, and it's going to take some restructuring and a lot of planning and dedication and intent on sticking with the plan that Lucasfilm is confident in. You know, without Disney coming in and forcefully making abrupt changes that ultimately hurt the stories in the end, but I truly believe things can get better. The next few years are some of the most important when it comes to the franchise, because so much weight lingers over everything. Lucasfilm is boldly making the next film to be about the new Jedi Order led by Rey. Now, I certainly am excited for this movie, but I understand a lot of people are not fans of her character. Could the movie change a lot of people's minds on her? It's possible, but either way, I do believe moving the story forward is the best way to go. It opens up an array of possibilities and story potential. James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie is also in the near-distant future, and this film has the potential once again to truly expand the Star Wars franchise and give us almost a fresh start on everything. Then, Dave Filoni's Heir to the Empire is somewhere on the schedule. Who knows what this film will contain or what Dave Filoni is even thinking about doing with it. So for me, guys, I rate Ahsoka a 7 out of 10. It has its lows, but it has its great highs that to me make up for all those lows. Let me know what you rank Ahsoka at and your opinion on the show in the comments down below. So guys, subscribe for more Star Wars news, theories, essays, and more. And as always, thanks for watching.